Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me here today for our Fresh Finds class. My name is Charlotte Scheid. I'm one of the Giant Company dietitians. Today for the Fresh Finds class, it is National Cabbage Day. So I often think cabbage, especially in the store, gets very overlooked, and a lot of times we just have no idea what to do with it. So we are celebrating all about cabbage today because today, February 17th, it is National Cabbage Day for those of you who did not know. Oh, and just a reminder too, if anybody has any questions, to put them in the Q&A box, and I will get to them at the very end. So today we are celebrating National Cabbage Day, again, February 17th. So I want to ask all of you a question before we get started here today to see if any of you eat cabbage. I'm kind of curious to see what everybody has to say. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this question. So you go ahead and answer that. So basically, do you eat cabbage? So I know for myself, especially this time of year, I like to put cabbage in soups and stews, kind of as a filler and nice way to add a vegetable. So all right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I'm actually happy to see this result. All right, so it looks like a lot of you do. So I should have actually reworded that. So it can be like any type of cabbage, and we'll be discussing all the different types of cabbage today. But a lot of times when we think of cabbage, we think of like the green cabbage. So I'm happy to see a lot of you do eat cabbage. Hopefully this class today will inspire you with some different recipes on some different ways to use it. So thanks everybody for answering that question. So again, celebrating cabbage today. All right. So one more poll question on how do you use cabbage? So let's say you're going to the store, you pass by this head of green cabbage. What would you do with it? So let me go ahead and do one more poll. So go ahead and answer this question. So how would you use a head of green cabbage? So go ahead and answer the question. So we have soups, stews, casseroles, taco or sandwich filling, or topper, some coleslaw, which is kind of popular, stir fries, or do you just have no idea? So again, I know for myself, definitely like to put it in soups. So let's see what everybody else has to say with this. Okay, so I'll go ahead and end this. So it looks like a lot of you use it in soups, stews, and casseroles, which is a wonderful way to use this cabbage, or to use cabbage. Couples taco or sandwich, coleslaw, and stir fries is a good one. And a couple of you, I have no idea. So hopefully we'll give you some ideas here shortly. All right. So with cabbage, so again, there's a lot of different types of cabbage, but again, when we think of cabbage, sometimes we think about the green. But with cabbages, it's very budget friendly and affordable. Which sometimes, well, again, when we pass by cabbage in the store, I think we just tend to really not look at it, don't have any idea what to do with it. But it's a very high yield per head. So normally for about a medium size green cabbage, if you chop it up, it usually gives about 10 cups or so, around like 8 to 10 cups. So can go a long way. And again, great way to stretch meals and to add some fiber. So it's a really good source of fiber, which we know as Americans, we tend to not get the fiber that we need per day. And with stretching meals, you can always put it into different types of casseroles, soups, stir fries, like I mentioned. And another thing that is interesting is it stores really well in the refrigerator, sometimes for a couple weeks. So you can buy one, can use it for different recipes throughout those weeks. And it's very versatile. Again, soups, raw and slaws, stir fried, um, wraps, fermented, which we'll be talking a little bit about kimchi. I know Shayna used kimchi in yesterday's class, which I always love kimchi kind of as a side dish, putting into soups. We'll discuss a little bit about that. And again, nutrient dense and very filling. So that is the reason why you should eat cabbage if you are not doing so currently. So what is cabbage? So it sort of looks like a leafy green, but it is a dense leafy vegetable. So it's not a lettuce, but it is a member of the cruciferous vegetable group that includes broccoli, kale, radishes, and Brussels sprouts. Comes in a variety of colors. In today's recipe, we're going to be using the purple red variety, which is also very pretty in different types of dishes. So it comes in a variety of colors and has been grown around the world and eaten for thousands of years, especially for a lot of years over in Russia. They have a lot of different recipes for that. So a little bit about cabbage, but again, looks like lettuce, kind of like, romaine lettuce or whatnot, but it's a leafy vegetable, part of that cruciferous vegetable family. So some cabbage nutrition facts. So 1 cup of raw green cabbage, it's very low in calories, which also makes a lot of different casseroles. If you include cabbage, will make it less, it will add filling, but not add as much or has many calories. Has 2 grams of fiber, which again, fiber is always a good thing. A really good source of vitamin K, which is important for bone health. So for 1 cup raw, 56% of the daily value that we need. For vitamin C, which is of course important for immune health, 36%, folate 10%, and then manganese, which sometimes we don't think of as much, but that is definitely important nutrient, so 6%. So we know that that supports brain and nerve function. Also, cabbage is considered prebiotic. So we're going to be talking with kimchi about probiotics, but with prebiotics act as food for the probiotics or that healthful bacteria in our gut. So prebiotics, probiotics kind of work together. So cabbage, definitely a lot of good stuff with nutrition in it. And then going off of that with cabbage health benefits. So it's a great source of antioxidants, especially with anthocyanins, which helps to give especially the purple cabbage, that purple pigment color. So we know that this helps to reduce chronic inflammation associated with different diseases and cancer, rheumatoid arthritis. Also helps to improve digestion with that fiber, prebiotics, so it fuels like good bacteria in the gut, which we know that the gut and immune system kind of works hand in hand, so that's really important. So it helps to fuel that good bacteria in the gut to protect the immune system. Also, a lot of research studies have shown that it helps to lower that LDL or lousy cholesterol with the fiber and phytosterols help to decrease that cholesterol, that LDL cholesterol that we don't want as much of. And with it being a really good source of vitamin K, helps to maintain bone health and healthy blood clotting. So a lot of really great health benefits for cabbage to think about. So these are the types of cabbage. So I just did a couple of them. So we talked about green cabbage. So the green cabbage has kind of like a mild flavor, a little bit slightly peppery, but more mild. Purple cabbage is slightly more peppery than green. Savory cabbage, more mild. The Napa cabbage, which is with kimchi, is used a lot with the kimchi, and then bok choy, which I always really like in a stir fry, is a Chinese cabbage variety. So you can see here we have our green cabbage, the purple over here to the left, savory, then the Napa cabbage, which is a lot of times used for wraps, and then bok choy at the lower right-hand corner. So different types of cabbage and different uses for them as well. Kind of similar, but a little bit different. So with our green cabbage, we can use it in a coleslaw, broccoli slaw mix, which we have one of those products in stores. You can do stir fries with chicken, add into casseroles and soups. The red or purple cabbage really goes well with grain bowls, which we'll be making today. It can be a taco or a burger topping. Can use it in slaw with carrots or apples. Pickled cabbage roasted with olive oil is always a good one. The savory cabbage has more tender and flexible leaves, so it can be used as a lettuce wrap substitute. Stuffed cabbage rolls, you can saute it with garlic and olive oil, add to pasta dishes. The Napa cabbage is a little bit more mild but juicy. A lot of Asian-inspired dishes have it, like kimchi, so the texture and flavor is usually perfect for fermentation. Also good in stir fries with shrimp or tofu, ramen, which I love a good ramen dish. Also chopped into fresh salads is also a good use for this type of cabbage. And then with bok choy, like I mentioned, I always like it with stir fry with a little bit of garlic and ginger. You can always add it to soups, steam it with soy sauce, toss it into fried rice, a lot of different options. So just giving you some ways to use these different cabbages. Um, and we're going to be using the red purple cabbage today, which is really good source of those anthocyanins, which good source of antioxidants. All right, so other ways to use cabbage. So this picture over here is one of our savory recipes. It's a cabbage roll chicken enchilada. So that's a little bit different way to use cabbage. But again, other ways to use it, you can bulk up grain bowls, which again we'll be using the bulk our grain bowl up today in our recipe. You can use it as a taco sandwich filler, stretch soups and stews like what we mentioned with chicken noodle, bean soup, extend stir fries to make, to increase the volume. You can use it in casseroles. one pan meals like egg bakes, ground beef casseroles, and then fried rice. You can also use it as a pizza or flatbread topper, which I think a lot of times we don't think of using it for that, but especially with the shredded cabbage that we have in store, it's easy to just pull it out of the bag and kind of add it onto a pizza or flatbread. And then one of my favorite ways, so one of our products, which we'll go over in a couple slides, we have rainbow slaw and even broccoli slaw. One of my favorite ways on a burger to add a little bit of crunch and volume. With not adding like an excessive amount of calories. You can always do rainbow slaw, mix it with a little bit of Greek yogurt. If you haven't tried that, definitely do so. It's really good, but it really adds a nice, colorful crunch to burgers. So really nice with during the summertime. So some other ways to use cabbage that maybe you haven't thought about so much. So I wanted to just go over kimchi. So again, I know Shannon used this in the recipe yesterday. So what kimchi is a fermented vegetable dish. So it's known for its tangy, sometimes spicy, depending on what flavors they put in it, and umami flavor, which is kind of like a savory flavor. But it's a staple in Korean cuisine. Normally used as a side dish. Sometimes you put into soups or rice bowls, stir fries. But it is made normally from that Napa cabbage and then other vegetables as well, maybe included in it, like radishes. But it's normally when the fermentation process seasoned with ingredients like garlic, ginger, fish sauce, or soy sauce. But the fermentation helps to preserve the cabbage and then it does support gut health. So through that fermentation, it has probiotics. So we know that probiotics help to support the gut, which has a lot of different benefits. But I wanted to also mention that it is if you're looking for kimchi, sometimes it can be hard to find, but it's normally in the refrigerated produce section, kind of near the salsa, guacamole, the pre-cut vegetables. It's normally in that area. So if you haven't tried kimchi, if you like a little bit of a spicy vegetables or whatnot. It's a really nice addition to different meals. But I wanted to mention that because it does include cabbage. So these are some products. So next time you're in store, definitely check them out. So I had mentioned about the broccoli slaw and then the rainbow slaw. So broccoli slaw just has broccoli stalks, red cabbage, and carrots. The broccoli or the rainbow slaw has some broccoli stalks, cauliflower, carrots, broccoli florets, and then our red cabbage. But again, if you're doing burgers, it makes for a really nice topping on those. Or you can put on top of a pizza. We have our red cabbage here, the Napa cabbage up here. This is what we're going to be using today in our recipe. So the shredded red cabbage. So you can, of course, buy the red cabbage head as a whole and chop it up. But sometimes to kind of save some time, you can get it pre-shredded, which is nice. We have bok choy at the bottom, which again, I mentioned I love bok choy. So we have regular bok choy and then baby bok choy, but I always like that in a good stir fry. It really adds a nice crunch and flavor. We have kimchi up here. So I mentioned that cabbage, high yield or like is affordable and high yield for what you get. So one medium, again, normally around like 10 cups or so. And then we have shredded sauerkraut too, made from cabbage. So a lot of different products to think about. So not just a head of cabbage. When you think about cabbage, a lot of different products to look at next time you're in store. All right, so these are some cabbage recipe inspirations from our Savory magazine. So this is the most recent edition of Savory. Um, and so these cabbage recipes are on our Savory Recipe Center database online, which has thousands of different recipes. So if you get stuck in a rut, definitely check those out. But these are some cabbage recipe inspirations from there, which some of them have. So I'll go to the first one, have these guiding stars. So for those of you who are new here today, guiding stars is our nutritional navigation program. So the more stars that a recipe has, the more nutritionally beneficial it is. So more vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, fiber, less of the things that we don't want as much of, like saturated fat, added sugar, and those types of things. So our first one, because I had talked about stir fries, there's a couple different stir fries on the Savory Recipe Center, but this one gets two guiding stars. This is a chicken and cabbage stir fry. I think you could, include other types of protein as well. You could do, of course, the chicken is here. You could do turkey or salmon and that type of thing. But this one, 29 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber. So definitely help you to feel fuller longer. So this one includes a head of green cabbage. So definitely getting a lot of bulk with it. Um, But for this stir fry, over top of white rice, you're going to be putting on the cabbage, garlic, onion, chicken, some vegetable oil, reduced sodium soy sauce, and rice vinegar kind of in the skillet, and then putting that over the white rice. You could also do brown rice if you want some, a little bit of additional fiber. But that's one option with cabbage, which I think when we think of recipes in cabbage, that probably already comes to mind some stir fries. But one other thing that you can do with cabbage is include it as a substitute for a wrap. So this is a cabbage wrap with tuna, apple, and carrot. So this one gets one guiding star. So it has some apple, green onions, tuna, some lemon juice, plain yogurt, olive oil, but the one head of savory cabbage that has the nice kind of flexible leaves. So you can always wrap up those insides, some mozzarella and then carrots too for some nice crunch. So this one, 15 grams of protein, 2 grams of fiber. So if you're looking for more of kind of like a kind of a lower calorie kind of wrap option, you can always use cabbage to include it in a wrap, which is nice. And then I had mentioned casserole a couple times. So this one is a stuffed cabbage casserole. This gets 2 guiding stars, 32 grams of protein, 9 grams of fiber. This one has some unique ingredients that I don't think you might think to put in something like a stuffed cabbage casserole, but this one has some ground beef, garlic, and onion, um, and also some brown rice. But it also has some tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, jellied cranberry sauce, which might give it kind of like an interesting sweetness to it, some Italian seasoning, mozzarella, and then parsley. So for this one, with the one head of green cabbage, you're chopping it up. So mixing your ingredients and doing like kind of repeating the layers. But again, cabbage being a nice way to create bulk in the casserole. So gets 2 guiding stars. This one I have not tried before, but I think the cranberry sauce would be an interesting touch to this recipe, some unique flavors to it. All right, so our featured recipe is a chickpea brown rice bowl. So I love a good grain bowl, especially when I feel super rushed. I don't know what to eat. I always tend to go to kind of like a grain bowl because they're very easy to make. So for this one, chickpea and brown rice gives you, complete protein. So this is our the ingredients in it. So for chickpea brown rice bowl, so 2 guiding stars. This recipe serves 4, so you'll get, 4 bowls from this recipe. 15 grams of protein, 9 grams of fiber. Even if you wanted to add even more protein to it, you can always add chicken or I'm trying to think chicken, tuna, that type of thing if you want some additional protein. But it is a balanced meal. So with the chickpeas and rice and then all the different veggies, you're getting a lot of great nutrition with this one. So balanced meal and then ready in 15 minutes, which I know I always appreciate. So for this recipe, so the first thing, well, I guess I can go to the direction or I'll go to the directions next slide. But for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to take distilled white vinegar, sugar, and then a bag of our shredded red cabbage, which I have right here. So we're going to use almost most of the bag. Microwave it for a minute. So it's kind of like creates kind of like a softness, pickling sort of taste. So we're going to microwave that for a minute, heat up our brown rice. So the brown rice that we're using, which I love, these packets, which I know I've mentioned in multiple classes, these 90-second packets, which is just very easy to pop it in the microwave and then you're ready to go. So we'll heat up that and then we'll build our bowl. And the recipe that we're using is not recipe. The dressing that we're going to create with it is we're going to mix together tahini, which is a sesame seed kind of paste, lemon juice, and then ground cumin, a little bit of water for that dressing. But will be really good. Well, delicious, but even more important, very easy to make, ready in 15 minutes. So these are the directions which I already kind of went over, but let's get started with our recipe with cabbage. All right. All right, so here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do, so I have my microwavable bowl right here. So I'm going to put in, let's see, here's my distilled white vinegar. So I'm just going to do 3/4 of a cup. Put this to the side. Go ahead and measure this. So again, what this is doing with a 3/4 cup of distilled white vinegar and then 2 teaspoons of sugar. So here, let me put this in. 2 teaspoons of sugar, which I already measured out right here. And then we're going to do most of the shredded red cabbage. It sort of makes the cabbage more soft, and it creates kind of like a pickling flavor. So this one is so 8 ounces. So we're going to use, so the recipe calls for about 5 ounces. So we're going to not do the whole bag, but over half of it. All right. I'm going to take my spoon and just make sure I cover all this. So again, distilled white vinegar and some sugar. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm gonna microwave this for 1 minute. So let me get my plastic wrap. I'll put this over it. All right, let's try to stretch this one out. I think the pickling kind of taste will make this dish even taste a little bit better. All right, so again, we're going to put it in the microwave for 1 minute and then just let it stand as we're microwaving then the rice. All right, so let me go ahead and I'm going to put this in the microwave 1 minute. All right, so while that is microwaving, actually what I'm going to do in the meantime. So again, we're using the 90-second whole grain brown rice. So I'm just going to pull this back about an inch or so. So that's ready to go for the microwave. So with this one, so a couple of things I did ahead of time. So I already diced up my tomatoes. So the recipe calls for a half of a pint of grape tomatoes. So grape tomatoes kind of having more of like a tart taste rather than like cherry tomatoes having more of a sweet taste, which I think will go well with the different flavors that we have. And then the other thing I did, so I have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. I use just the real lemons, squeeze them. You can also use the lemon juice that's already done kind of in the bottle or squeezed in the bottle. But I always think fresh lemon juice is really good in these types of dishes. And then the other thing I did was I already drained and rinsed my chickpeas. So this is a low sodium chickpea. And then by rinsing it, you're already getting even more sodium off of it if that's if that's of concern to you, kind of reducing some sodium. So I heard the microwave. Let me go grab that, and I'm going to put in my the packet for 90 seconds. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, so that is in the microwave. Okay, so I talked about the chickpeas, lemon juice, tomatoes. So this is also the tahini, so the sesame seeds. So we'll be using that for the dressing. So let me go ahead. So the recipe calls for a seedless cucumber, so one. So let me just cut this in half. And then really do whatever size that you want. I'll just do kind of like half moon shapes. All right. The other thing that you could do if you, for some reason, don't like cucumber or tomatoes, there's a variety of other different vegetables that you could put in it. So you could do either, you could put like matchstick carrots in it, you could do broccoli, you could do any type of bell peppers to add some color. A lot of different options for veggies. I think with this one, you could put in a lot of different, whatever vegetables that you like. But I definitely think carrots would be add a nice crunch, bell peppers, that type of thing. But I think for the most part, people tend to like cucumbers. All right, so that is about 10 more seconds on the brown rice. This is a very long seedless cucumber. All right. Let me go ahead and set this to the side. Let me go grab my brown rice. All right, so this is good and ready to go. So I'm just going to pull the top off to let it just cool down a little bit. You could also do this maybe even kind of ahead of time and just let it cool down. But I think even if it's a little bit warm, I think that's okay. as well. All right, so we have our tomatoes, cucumber, and this. So we're going to make our the dressing. Let me bring over my bowl right here. So the first thing first thing we're going to put in is a fourth cup of just water. So I already measured a fourth cup of water right here. We're going to add in our 3 tablespoons of lemon juice here. And then half a teaspoon of ground cumin. That's some nice flavor. All right, and then we're going to add in our fourth of a cup of tahini, which I will say tahini is a little bit drippy. Uh, it's more liquidy than probably what you think. So you can see right here. So you can see it like that. So we're just going to put in a fourth of a cup. Try not to spill it too much. So once we do that, we will mix that together. The other option too, if you do not like tahini for some reason, you can always do like a lemon Greek yogurt based dressing. I think would be fine. There's also some like hummus based dressings you could do. A lot of different options with that. All right, so fourth of a cup tahini. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this. Put this top. All right, here's my fork. Just go ahead and mix this up. You can also put a little bit of salt and pepper if you want in here, but you don't necessarily have to either. All right, so this dressing looks good. I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. But the other thing that the recipe says to do is you want to drain the cabbage from all that, like the sugar vinegar liquid. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm just going to drain it. All right. So this looks, after microwaving it, this looks even more pretty, I think, with the purple red cabbage right here. It definitely has a nice flavor with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and build our chickpea and brown rice bowl. So I'm just going to bring over my bowl right here. Just going to add in some brown rice to the very bottom. It's still a little bit warm, but you can always kind of do that more ahead of time than what I did. So you can see I put my brown rice in here. Okay, so we're going to put on some chickpeas. So kind of on the one corner. Also going to put in see if I have spoon. I'm going to put in some of this yummy red kind of pickled cabbage. This is so pretty, this purple color, which again has those anthocyanins, packed full of antioxidants. So if you haven't used red cabbage, definitely try it out. A lot of good benefits with it. All right, so we have our chickpeas, cabbage. We're going to put in some of our tomatoes right on the other side, and some cucumbers. So I probably could have chopped these up even a little bit smaller, but you know what? It's all right. Trying to put these on the other side. You just see this is super colorful, so you can see right here. So all I'm going to do is just take my dressing and drizzle it right over. Let me just go ahead and give this another stir. Okay. A spoon. Just kind of drizzle it right over. So not too hard to make. You can see how fast that was to make. So this makes for just a really nice meal, especially for lunch or even dinner or if you're on the go. But this is a great way to use cabbage. So again, our chickpea and brown rice bowl. And even if you don't like chickpeas, you can use other protein, like I mentioned, with chicken or tuna. You could, if you don't like brown rice, you could use quinoa, farro. You can even do, even if you don't want to use the packet, you could use frozen rice if you have that in your freezer. And some additional toppings, which might even make this dish even better, is like a little bit of feta cheese if you want some crunch on it, some sunflower seeds. even do pumpkin seeds, or even if you want more chickpeas, you could do roasted chickpeas for a little bit of an extra crunch. But hopefully that gives you a nice idea for cabbage. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we will move along to the Q&A. But let me go ahead and share this. So we have, okay, let's see if this shares. There we go. So we have a lot of great classes that are up and coming. So for tomorrow, Living Well class with Joni, focused on sodium and blood pressure. So it's our heart health series with Living Well. So she'll be focusing in on the sodium and blood pressure. And then Jenna on Thursday is going to be featuring California walnuts in the Behind the Brain class, a Florida fork with Joni, and then a Fresh Finds with Shayna with a snow day theme. So a lot of great stuff to look forward to. All right, well, I hope this gives everybody really nice recipe inspirations, or even just like thinking about cabbage. So next time you're in store, definitely just try it out. Just try a recipe with cabbage because again, like what I said before, really great nutritional benefits to it. So we are going to move along to the Q&A. So with that, I appreciate everybody joining me here today. So thank you. Take care.